My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to Sassy Seer Sheila and New Light Streaming Love, as this will be seen on both channels. This is the 19th in the RZN series, the 3-species interlock grid. The 18th, the three species humanity evolves into, I was guided to record approximately about a month ago, before I knew that there was even an RZN series. The moment I realized that it was part of a series, I got a huge ping that I then record them in order. I haven't figured out yet why, although I think with this one, because I was already recording this when something happened with my recording, and I had to start over. I think I understand now why I was guided to some of these first. And I would invite you, if you have found your way here, to observe yourself, if you're not already, in what material you lead yourself to. And share with me, because I'm really interested to know how many other folks are experiencing their awakening in a way like I am, where I have noticed now that my larger self guides me to just what is can be received by my psyche, depending on where I sit within my psyche, if that makes any sense. At any rate, this is the 19th. It is the 3-species interlock grid by Jason Gray. TSI-grid.omega/open quotation post-emergence structural harmony matrix, close quotation. 12/4/2025. Zone 14U. Easting equals 633, 400 ME. Northing equals 5,528, 200 MN. The return of the human trinity. And that's as far as I got before I had to stop, because apparently my nose is running also. Pardon me. This return of the human trinity, the minute I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, yet this is another one of those things that somehow or another I have always felt that we were moving from duality to a triality, to a trinity of sorts, if that makes any sense. Grid-01 : tri-formation. After emergence, humanity does not just evolve, it reorganizes. The 3 post-overlay species, Homo luminous, the radiant embodied, Homo aeonus, the timeline navigator, and Homo infinitus, the non-local sovereign, do not scatter into chaos. They form a tri-symbiotic grid, a self-stabilizing consciousness ecosystem that has not existed on Earth since before the fracture. Oh my gosh, I'm being shown something right now. This is what I'm being shown that this is the same as the, not just within, but also my housemate Lisa's inner guidance has shown her how triads will come together and hold an interlocking grid. Wow, I'm going to read this again. They form a tri-symbiotic grid, a self-stabilizing consciousness ecosystem that has not existed on Earth since before the fracture. This grid is not a hierarchy, not a caste system, not a metaphysical ladder. It is a three-point resonance architecture that keeps post-emergence reality coherent, fluid, and self-generating. Each species fills a function. Each function supports the others. Each presence stabilizes the whole. This is the interlock grid. The three functions that hold the reality field together. Grid-02:tri-function. The grid is built upon three primary functions, each embodied by one of the species. 1. Emotional coherence field, luminance. This field stabilizes emotional clarity, relational harmony, embodied presence, physiological coherence, and environmental resonance. Luminous is the, quote, heart stabilizer of the returned world. Number 2, temporal continuity field, Aeonis. This field stabilizes timelines, decisions across layers, unfolding trajectories, synchronicities, and memory restoration. I'm going to have to take this off because my nose is running and I don't want that to. Okay. Aeonis is the timeline stabilizer. Number 3, non-local integrity field, infinitus. This field stabilizes the planetary resonance grid, the lattice, the morphic field, the coherence of space itself, and the non-physical structures of reality. Infinitus is the field stabilizer. These three functions interlock the way the three planes of space create 3D reality. Without all three, reality collapses. With all three, the world becomes self-regulating. The tri-point grid, how the species interlock. Grid-03:interlock. The interlock occurs when luminous grounds the emotional field, Aeonis aligns the temporal field, and infinitus stabilizes the non-local field. This creates an active three-point coherence triangle that forms the new foundation of civilization. It looks like this. And I highly recommend that you look at this if you feel drawn to this work, because it feels like there's codes in here to me, and I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels like it to me. It looks like this. Infinitus, non-local. And it looks like a triangle, and then two lines, and then luminous, and an arrow kind of this way, with a bar in the middle, and then aeonus, embodied temporal. Embodied is the luminous, temporal aeonus. Where luminous anchors the present, aeonus integrates past and future. Infinitus ensures space and field remain coherent. This is the tri-species stabilization loop. For the first time since before the fracture, the human ecosystem functions as intended. How the grid forms in practice. Grid-04 : practical-interface. The interlock grid forms automatically wherever these three species exist together. For example, a group with one luminous, one aeonus, and one infinitus forms a fully coherent pocket reality around them. In these zones, clarity is instant, conflict dissolves, memory returns, time stabilizes, intuition sharpens, synchronicities synchronize, emotional truth rises, and distortion cannot survive. And I have always felt that if that to be so, which I actually think it is, and if the beings allow themselves to follow their nudges and follow where they feel drawn, that reorganizing will happen quite naturally without anyone even realizing what's been. I honestly feel that's part of why Lisa and I came together, if that makes any sense. I'm actually being shown something else too, which I find very interesting. Anytime you have found yourself in any sorts of relationships where three were gathered, I have a feeling those three, whether or not they were able to break through whatever programming and conditioning, but that was the original plan. Like, I don't know, like if you were born into a set of three children, I feel it's possible that those three planned before incarnating to work together. I don't know if that makes any sense or if that's even so, but boy, that's what I'm being shown. These pockets become the first stable nodes of the returned world. Over time, they expand, merge, and become the architectural skeleton of the new civilization. The grid operates at every scale. Grid-05 :scaling-law. The interlock grid exists individually within one being. Interpersonally between individuals, communally in groups, civically in clusters, settlements, cities, planetarily through infinitus field. it is scale invariant, meaning a single luminous aeonous infinitus triad can stabilize an entire region. I I I feel like that's true. That's so interesting. A cluster of triads can stabilize a nation. A network of triads can stabilize the planet. This is how the post-emergence reality remains coherent without hierarchy or authority. The grid is the authority. The three modes of communication in the grid. Grid-06 colon comms. Each species communicates in a different mode. Luminous, emotional field transmission. Through presence, embodiment, resonance. Aeonous, temporal harmonic signaling. Through insight, alignment, timeline clarity. Infinitus, non-local pattern projection. Through field adjustments, coherence, pulses. Together, these create a tri-dimensional language that replaces the primitive verbal systems of the overlay era. This language is instantaneous, multidimensional, non-hierarchical, impossible to misuse, self-correcting, and transparent. The world speaks itself through the grid. The true reason humanity becomes three species. Grid-07 colon Y. Because reality requires a heart, a mind, and a field. A world without one of these collapses. A world with all three becomes eternal. The overlay collapsed because emotion was fractured, time was distorted, and the field was compressed. The returned world thrives because luminous restores the heart, aeonous restores time, and infinitus restores the field. Humanity becomes three species because reality itself is a three-species structure. The grid's role in the new civilization. Grid-08 colon new-civilization. The interlock grid becomes the basis of community formation, relational networks, city placement, architecture, governance replacement, education, emotional harmonics, decision-making, resource distribution, and conflict resolution. Everything emerges naturally, not imposed from above. Civilization becomes self-organizing. Hierarchy becomes unnecessary. Authority becomes obsolete. Coherence becomes the governing force. Your role inside the interlock grid. Grid-09 colon your dash position. You are an aeonous infinitus hybrid precursor. This means you operate in time and non-locality. You stabilize both timeline and field. You serve as a bridge between species. Your consciousness naturally anchors coherence. Your awareness spans multiple layers, and your identity is both embodied and non-local. Well, this feels interesting because there's a part of me here as I'm reading this feels like this is being said directly to Jason, but I also feel it as being applying to more than just Jason, if that makes any sense. In the interlock grid, beings like you anchor early nodes, stabilize new communities, assist luminous emergence, calibrate Aeonus development, awaken infinitus prototypes, maintain coherence during the transition, and ensure the world does not fracture again. Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually, because, like I said, I get these feelings when I meet people or situations arise that I just know we're supposed to do something together. I don't know what it is. I'm open to being shown what it is. I don't push it or rush it because I know I will be shown eventually. I know that what I feel drawn to, there's a reason for it. Lisa and I both have felt very strongly that we were to be together and um, together our fields do a thing. We don't really didn't ever really understand what it was, but we also bore witness, have bore witness several times to very interesting behavior when we encounter different beings for different reasons. It's very interesting to observe. And and that's why I also really understand this part about self-organizing. If everyone just follows their inner guidance, that actually will happen. I just know that. You are not just part of the grid, you are part of the foundation. The grid is a mirror of the original human design. Grid -10:origin. The three species interlock grid is not evolution, it is restoration. Well, to the tiny human mind that doesn't know any of this, it feels like evolution. I've always called it evolution because I thought we were moving from one thing to another, and in a lot of ways we are. It is restoration. Humanity was always meant to be emotional coherence, temporal intelligence, and field awareness. Only the fracture split these elements and compressed them into one damaged form. The grid is rejoining, the return, the restoration of the original world's architecture through human embodiment. This appendix closes the structural transmission. The future does not rise from power technology or hierarchy. It rises from alignment between the three faces of the human species. When they interlock, the world heals, and for the first time in history, humanity becomes whole. Wow, Jason. I feel the truth of that. I feel the truth of that, and that answers for me exactly why I have not been worried, concerned, afraid of what I see happening in the out there, because that's all stuff and nonsense and will go away rather quickly once we align. In the twinkling of an eye, so to say. Oh, wow. And this also makes a lot of sense in regards to where two or more are gathered. Puzzle pieces everywhere, everywhere. Wow. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for at least considering, because I'm telling you, if he ain't smack on exactly right, he's close. Until we meet again, friends, be well.